Today we're going to be talking about a very, very important subject. A subject that I feel like has gotten skewed throughout the ages and that has really have not been taken into a deep consideration. This in fact is a subject in which lies at the basis of whether it be family, whether it be relationships, whether it be dating, marriage, whatever the case, across the board, everybody understands it. It is an international, worldwide concept that people truly have sort of, in some cases, skewed the true meaning of what it may be. You guessed it, today we're going to be talking about friendships. You may say, oh, wow, I know how to be a friend. Well, the question is, do you really? And if you do, then I hope that you be able to take this advice and take it to somebody else and teach them what it means to be a friend. Today, I'm going to be discussing with you guys 5 important things on what it means to develop a solid, grounded, rooted friendship with the next person. You may be a person that's watching this video right now and they may say, hey, I have a lot of people that I want to develop a friendship with, a type of relationship. And at the very basis, and now it all makes sense. You may say, oh, wow, what is this international concept that could be across the board that everybody may or may not understand? Well, yes, it's friendships. Because guess what? You're not going to just walk up to a stranger and just tell them your life story and just talk to them about your deepest, darkest secrets and stuff. There is a step. There is a process that needs to take place. There is a formula that needs to take place, a chemical bonding that needs to happen in order for you to reach that step in your life, that step that we call the friendship step. You've heard of an associate. An associate is somebody that you talk to. You go to different stores and stuff like that. Oh, here, go ahead and talk to this team member or this associate, whatever. Somebody that you are associating yourself with. Hey, I know that guy. I've talked to him. I'll go to the store all the time and I shop and he helps me out. He's a good person. But would you consider that person a friend? No, you may have a friend who you may talk to about your secrets. You may talk to about your downfalls. You may talk to about your struggles. You don't go to no store and just talk to a random team member or an associate about your struggles, your downfalls and stuff like that, right? Friendship is cut out. It's and set aside. It's a particular concept, a particular stage in life in which it's set out for certain people who you are engaging more in depth with. So today we're going to be discussing 5 things. Have you ever heard of the phrase lunch? Yeah, well, a lot of times in our day and age in society, a lot of conversations, some of the most revealing, some of the deepest revelations and the strongest feelings come out over food when you're having a conversation, when you're eating. So I want you guys to remember these phrases. It's going to be a phrase. It's called lunch. It is in fact an abbreviation for these 5 things. You ready? Here we go. First one is to be able to listen. The second one is to be able to be understanding. Overall, the third one, simply just be nice, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the fourth one. The fourth one is a very important one. Communication. Yes, a lot of times friendships fail because of communication. And last but not least, being honest with each other, right? So let's go ahead and discuss number 1. To be able to listen, a lot of times we're out here to and fro where as people you wonder why people are sometimes all over the place. Sometimes people are just talking. Sometimes people are just loud. Sometimes they're just speaking up all the time. And you're like, wow, man, this person loves to talk, or I don't know, they just got a lot of issues. Or sometimes they just don't have people, rather friend wise, that are simply able to listen to them. Have you ever been that person that you've always said, man, I really need somebody to listen to me. I have so much I want to say. I have so many problems. I don't want to keep it in. I want to talk to somebody about it, but I really don't have anybody who is, number 2, understanding. what I'm going through. And a lot of times you may think you have a friendship, but each of these 5 things, if at any point any of them falter, then there really isn't a true friendship, is there? So talking about being able to listen, one of the main things in a friendship is to be able to listen to your person. Whether you are married, because guess what, marriages can fail if either spouse don't listen to one another, which therefore it disrupts the understanding that the two may have amongst each other. And then at that point, if either one of them don't feel like either one is understanding, then guess what happens? The communication falters. Then at that point, you no longer are establishing a level of honesty amongst each other. You see where I'm going with this? And then at the same time, now that you are not being honest at the very least with each other, what's the point of being nice? I don't care about you. You're not understanding. You're not nice to me. You're not communicating with me. You're not listening to me. What's the point? And why do I bring up marriage? Why do I bring up dating? Why do I bring up family? Because at the core of it all, whether you believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, hear me out. Whether you believe it or not, all of these types of relationships, these formations, these bonds, start out with being a friend. They start out with being a friend. And I can promise you, a lot of marriages fail. A lot of people who are just casually dating, they fail. Why? Because you may be with somebody in a relationship for like 2 weeks. Well, what happened? I don't know. They cheated on me. Well, why? Not enough communication. Not a whole lot of understanding in the relationship. It's not enough communication. It's not enough listening to one another. It's not enough honesty. And at the very core of it all, you lose your respect as a person. And you're no longer honest. You're no longer understanding. You're no longer being able to listen. You're no longer being nice. So you want to know what it means to establish a friendship. You want to know what it means to establish that type of bond that's at the very root, that's at the very core of every single type of relationship that is out there. Then I promise you this: if you can establish in every kind of relationship out there, at the core of it all, these 5 things. Number 1, being able to listen to your partner. Number 2, being understanding. Understanding is, hey, I understand what you're going through. A lot of times you may not have the proper synergy with with your partner, whoever it may be. You may not went through the same thing that they have been through, but you can at least sort of empathize or sympathize with them and say, hey, I understand to an extent what your pain is. They may not, a lot of times in relationships, a lot of times in friendships, a lot of times in family, they know that you don't completely understand what they've gone through. Sometimes you may have a friend who lost their parents. You've never lost your parents, but you can to some extent understand that the pain that they might be going through, because you can imagine even for a second, wow, if I lose my parents, I'll be devastated. That's what they're going through. So imagine having a friend. You said, I lost my parents. I'm devastated. I am depressed. I am sad. I am just crying. And the person says, wow, man, that really sucks. Well, I didn't lose my parents, so I really don't know what to tell you. You may say, what? Wait a minute. Hold up. But the thing about it is, that person, you may not fully understand what the person is going through. But to give the appearance that you truly are understanding, that you're empathizing and sympathizing what they are going through, that is all the more to continue to have a basis of a friendship. And at the end of the day, that person is going to look back on it and say, man, you know what? Who can I give some of this money to? Because they may say, oh, my friend who understood when my parents died, I was devastated, and they were right there in my corner, and they understood what I was going through. They was listening to my mourning. They constantly kept in communication. They were honest with how they felt about the situation in regards to how devastated I was. And at the very core of it all, they remained kind to me. They were nice to me. because they knew that my emotions just was not there. And at the end of the day, they may say, hey, I give you half of my family's will, because you're the only person that's been there for me, that's understanding, that's listened to me, that's communicated, that was nice, and that was honest with me. Right? So, number 3, we're going to be talking about being nice. Being nice, being kind goes a long way. I've heard of the phrase, kill with kindness. There are some people out there who are really, 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 really crazy. There are some people out there who just are nonchalant. They wake up out of the bed just ready to ruin somebody's day. But you got to be that person. You got to be that person to kill with kindness. You got to be that person to be nice no matter what the case may be. You have to be that person that no matter what, you have to show love. That's what qualifies to be a good friend. You never know. You may turn that person around who's been mean, cantankerous, nonchalant toward you. Say, you know what, you've been really nice to me. That's deserving of my friendship, because nobody's ever really listened to me. They thought I was crazy. Nobody's ever really understood the things that I've gone through, which is why I'm acting so mean and stuff like that. Nobody's ever truly been honest with me. I mean, somebody say one thing and they do another thing, and it's sort of like corrupted how I feel about people. But simply just being nice to a person can go a long way. I've run into it plenty of times, ladies and gentlemen, where people will be mean, but you have to constantly be nice. As frustrating as it may be, as daunting, as dragging, as vexing as it may be to your soul, you have to just put a smile on your face and say, it's all good. Now, the next thing up on our list is very important too, communication. I've seen so many relationships, friendships, people who are just simply casually dating, family, just fall apart in front of my very eyes because of the lack of communication. Well, I thought you said, well, you didn't say this, well, we didn't talk, or it's been a long time, whatever the case may be. You've heard those phrases. Sometimes simply just staying in touch with people on a regular, that qualifies at the very core of being like a good friend. If you have like that one family member, if you have like that one spouse, if you have like that one boyfriend or girlfriend, if you have like that one, again, family member, whatever the case may be, that you really confide in, then communication is key. Communication is key, and it helps a lot. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And at the very core, number 5 is simply just being honest with one another. There is nothing that a friend loves more is your honesty. Now, granted, honesty can come in many forms. It may not be the form in which you may say, hey, be honest, how do I look? Do I look fat? You may say, you look beautiful just the way that you are. And you truly mean that from the bottom of your heart. You don't mean any harm whatsoever. Sometimes people be looking for the wrong kind of honesty. Tell me straight to my face. How am I? Am I a bad person? Yeah, you're a bad person. Oh, thanks for telling me. I'll get better. It may completely shut somebody down, destroy somebody, ruin somebody's life, ruin a marriage. I mean, to my married people out there, how many times have you wanted to be honest with your spouse of how you truly felt about them? And I'm talking about in a bad way. But that's not the right kind of honesty now, is it? You may say, well, I want to tell my husband or my wife, they're really loudmouth, they're really cantankerous, I probably regret being with them, whatever. You don't want to say that. That's the wrong kind of honesty. You don't want to be honest that way. You want to be honest in a very nice way, a very professional way, in a very constructive way. And at the core of it all, I believe out there, if you exercise these 5 things, you can truly build a solid foundation as being that one friend that nobody's ever heard of. I guarantee it. I promise you. Just want to say thank you guys for joining me on this live stream. And as always, I'll catch you next time.